Hello, I'm Dr. Harper. This video is an Operations Management AMBA, one-year MBA for the spring 2021. And this is going over memo number 1, which is forecasting. So let's bring up the memo. Now in this memo, read it very carefully, and all the memos, read them very carefully, and first identify what they're asking. Unfortunately, a lot of students will read this and say, oh, this is the kind of problem it is, so let me solve it, and there's a solution. But sometimes they're not asking for that. They're asking for something very specific. Okay, in this case, Allison and Andrew, and also I'm covering this because on these memos, the primary purpose of the memo is communication. And so it's like a team, and so the team gets together and works things out, and I can be part of your team. And so I will work this out, and I'll say, here's what I think, and you might come up with something a little different, but you'll see my solution for this. And so, but I want to see your communication, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, Allison and Andrew Anderson have successfully operated Speedy Pizza in a popular ski area in Colorado. Although they believe sales have been increasing for both the dine-in and carry-out, the carry-out business seems to be presenting problems. They have asked us for a monthly forecast of carry-out pizza for the next fiscal year, along with some insights of the nature of the demand for their carry-out pizza beyond next fiscal year that would help them with their planning. I gladly agreed, knowing that my associates could do it and do both requests well. Both requests. So I'm trusting you that you will address both of these in your communication. What are they? First, a monthly forecast. So let me bold that. So your memo must have a monthly forecast. And I do get memos, they talk about forecasting, but they never give them a forecast. They're asking for a forecast, give them what they ask for. The second is some insights of the nature of the demand. Okay? And this is beyond next fiscal year. So something beyond the next year, something to help them with their planning. So they're asking for two things. One is a monthly forecast. That's what I'll be looking for. Two, some insights about the nature of the demand. So let's do it. Okay, the Andersons have indicated to me that the demand for the dine-in slightly fluctuates throughout the year, but seems to be quite predictable. However, the demand for carry-out seems to be highly volatile all year. This has caused them supply problems since they plan for deliveries in advance because of their mountain location. They have provided us the following number of carry-out pizzas sold. Okay, analyze the Andersons' problem. And notice I say analyze the problem. Don't just say, oh, here's your answer. No, analyze it, because part of their request is insights. Prepare a response memo to them, adequately and appropriately responding to their request. Adequately is answering their question. Appropriately, they are business people. They're not analysts. They're not students. They're not analytics. They're not engineers. They are business people running a pizza place in the mountains. So that's what should be appropriately, the communication should be appropriate to the audience. Responding to their request. Prepare a separate technical memo to me presenting the details of your approach and analysis. Now, that's to me. Okay? And so you can be as technical as you want and actually be as technical as you need. The purpose of the technical memos is, here's how I did it, here's the assumptions, here's how I solved this problem, and it's just one page outlining exactly how you did it. Prepare a video for the clients. And so who's the audience? The clients. Again, appropriate for the clients, based on a PowerPoint presentation that summarizes your results that would be useful for their future planning. And as far as the PowerPoint, the base of the PowerPoint with a video, I didn't say this, but submit the video in MP4 format, if you will, because that's easier to manipulate and easier to use. MP4, it's easy to do. Well, it can be done, put it that way. I hate to say things are easy to be done, but it can be done. Okay, prepare a video. And on the website, I do have a link with a video on how to make videos. Okay, so let's solve this thing. Okay, let's see here. Well, first of all, let's look at the data. Let's take this data. Let me bring this up here and take the yearly data. Control C. Let's bring in Excel. Here we go. And so let's come down here a ways and just notice what I did here. Just make sure everyone knows what I'm doing. I highlight this, then Control C copies it. I bring in Excel. I come down here, select a cell right here. Control V will paste it in. There's your data. Then boom, you got it. Well, let's put the months in here. Highlight that, Control C, bring back, and now let's put this over here. Here's our months. Just there we go. Let's see here. We enlarge this. Now, when you highlight this, and notice let me make this larger, and I double click here, that's going to format it. Okay, then I double click here, and it formats it back. So there we go. So there's our data in Excel. We're ready to go. Well, the first thing you do, remember, is plot the data. Well, we can plot it two different ways. It's already in the columns are years, the rows are months. Let's just plot this thing. Let's take the whole thing here. Up here onto Insert, over here, plot it. I want to plot it in a line plot, actually a stacked plot here, because it is already in stacked. So there's my stacked plot. And notice in the stacked plot, 2017 is the blue, 2018, so it picks these as then this column here. Notice how it plots columns across here. Okay, and that's just how it formats it. So 2017 is here, 2018 is the orange, 2019 is the gray, 22. Well, from this plot, we can see the pattern every year is the same, which indicates a seasonal component. When you have a pattern that repeats every year, that's a seasonal component. But also we can see that every year that pattern is higher, is higher, is higher, and so that indicates a linear trend. So we know that we have a linear trend and we have a seasonal component. We have a trend component and a seasonal component. Okay, and a random component probably in there too. Okay. So that's what we have. Fine. Well, this is a stacked, I call this a stacked plot. Let me just say this up here. You can actually don't call it that in the memo or in the video. Usually when you present these things to clients, don't say stacked plot. It says stacked, what does that mean? What is, wait a minute. They're business people. And so what you say, let's say, I don't know what you can say. You can come up with it. You can talk to people, talk to your team. What would you say there? What is it? Oh, actually, you don't say what it is. You say, what do you want to see in this plot? What you want them to see, you put it in the title. What do we want them to see? Well, I don't know. I would say what I would want them to see is every year there's a pattern that repeats that increases. The pattern that repeats every year increases every year, something like that. I don't know. You can come up with you can be better than that than me. You see what I mean? So what you put up here is exactly what you want them to see. They'll read this, they'll look at this, oh, of course, I see that. There's a pattern and there's a years, see? And so what you put in the title is what you want them to see in the graph. Bingo. Okay, but then some people like line plots. This is a stack plot. Some people want line plots. Well, we can do that here pretty easily in Excel. Here we can equal this, and so when I copy this down, it's going to copy this down with it, okay? But then after I do 2017, I want 2018, 2019, 2020. That's what I want, okay? So let me set after 2017, I want 2018, and there it is. After 2018, I want 2019 and 2020. Okay, and so what I'm setting up here is a little trick. Right, this equals this up here. This equals this up here. this equals this up here. So when I copy this down, it's going to start copying everything in a column. Let me show you. So now you highlight all of this right here, and you left click, and you see so I highlight this. The lower right corner is a solid plus. Left click and drag it down, and as you drag it down, wait till this goes. Oh, it went to 0. Went to 0 way up here. Oh wow, Jiminy Cricket. Let's bring this back. Don't need all those. Don't need all those zeros. Got a little carried away there. There we go. Right here. Let's stop that. Okay, let's stop it right there. The point is, yeah, that was really okay. I did. Here's 2018, and then I did 2019, then 2020, and there we go. And I copied that. So this right here represents the year. I mean, a line plot. You know, all 4 years. So I come up here and highlight this, Control, Shift, down arrow, and then it just goes all the way down to till you have no more data. Okay, now I'm going to insert. I'm going to plot the same plot again, and bingo, there's my line plot. Let me just say line plot. Now, don't say line plot in your communication. Please don't do that. That doesn't help anybody. They go, oh, it's kind of like saying, oh, right there on 21, there's a dot. Yeah, I see that. So what does it mean to me? So in business, you say, oh, no, we have a linear trend over the 4 years with a pattern that repeats every year, something like that. And so here you can talk about the pattern and the trend. Here you talk about the trend and the pattern. Because you can see the trend. Oh, by the way, you can also, in Excel, which is kind of nice to do, you say, okay, well, you can click this thing here. Click this, double click it, comes over here. And notice over here on the right, it gives you some options, and do the plus here. And this plus here, do a trend line. So I can just automatically put a trend line there. There's your linear trend. You can say, hey, I got a trend line, and there it is. Okay. Or you can double click the trend line, and it opens up over here. You can say display the equation. There's your regression equation. Do the same thing again, and come to display the R-squared value. There's the R-squared value. And you probably learn that back in data analysis. So you can if you want to. It's not necessary, but you only display it if it's part of your presentation. Don't display it because don't display it because you can. Display it because you need to, you want to, and it has value. Don't put things out there that you don't talk about. Okay, if you do a line plot and then you have the right title, or a stack plot, or both. Okay, or maybe there's another plot you want to do. There are other plots, but the point is this is exploratory analysis, and this is the kind of thing now you know what to do. Okay, now let's come up here and let's do it. So first we need the trend. And let me code this up here. Instead of these big numbers in the thousands, let me just recode this to year 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and it'll just the reason I'm transposing it, or actually converting it, or transforming it, recode it. Essentially, I transform it, is because in algorithms, years ago the algorithms didn't have a lot of significant figures. And so you recode it to be simpler. Therefore, you avoid any round-off errors. It's not a big problem today, and Excel has like 15, 16 significant figures. Not a big deal. But old school, I always do that. Simplify it to make it work more accurately. And so when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, it's one significant figure instead of 4 significant figures. And when you start multiplying, you have something called tolerant stack up. That's the old computer programming thing I used to do. Okay, so here we have a slope. Here's our data. Bing, 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 comma. And now we want the actual years. Now when I do that, notice that C3 through F3, C is a column, 3 is the row, and that colon And F3, F is the column, 3 is a row. That column means everything between each of those blocks. I mean, each of those cells. Okay, but I want these last two. If I go F4, I put dollar signs in front of the column and dollar signs in front of the rows because those will not change when I copy them down. Okay, press return, come back up here, and then the lower right corner, get a plus sign, and then I copy it down, and there's all my slopes, and there they are. Okay, now format. Notice I have 861.7. Well, that's fine to leave it there. That's not a big deal. But if you're going to report this, don't report a trend of 0.7. Use it in the calculations, but you don't necessarily and probably shouldn't report it or display it. And so essentially bring it up here and just round it off to the units digit. It's cleaner. It's cleaner. Don't give any viewers, when you present this thing, don't give anyone anything to complain about. Okay, then, actually the reason I did the trend down here, I can take the average, of the trend, and that's my seasonally adjusted trend of 713. In other words, the slope of this line right here, is going to be right around 713 when you have this data here. Okay. Okay. Now this data, this is overall. Okay. So this is seasonally adjusted slope. Okay. So there's our slope from the data. Okay. And now then I'm going to go ahead and do the intercept. Oh, I can do the seasonal indexes now, equals the value divided by the average, F4, again, to fix it and copy it down. And there's our seasonal indexes. And we might want to use them. You might want to report them. We might want to use them. You can bring down the significant figures maybe down to 1 or something, or maybe 2, or maybe 1, depending on what you want. That's what you report. You use all the significant figures if you calculate it, though. But then what we want, let me do the intercept next. Oops. Equals intercept. Again, of the data, the time series, comma, the time, the independent variable, F4 to fix it, just like we did before. Come back up and let's copy this down. Now, even though, see, you have 0.5 in there, even though I bring it up and I go down to the units digit, even though it's units digit, it's going to use all the significant figures when you calculate it. This is just displaying the number. It's not really rounding anything. It's displaying it. In other words, when I look at my forecast here, okay, and this is going to be time period 5, equals the intercept. Now that intercept is not just 1073, it's 1073 point whatever number is there, plus the slope, which is the trend, times the independent variable, the time, the year, which is 5, F4, because I want 5 for every single one of those. And then I copy that down, and right there is the forecasts. And there's our forecast right there. See, I have a 0.5 there, a 0.5 there. Again, I recommend, not only here, but I recommend in industry, don't forecast, well, let's bring this back up. Right here. Oh, April, I'm going to forecast 6,536.5 pizzas. Well, the 0.5 is distracting. It's not that appropriate. You know, what does a 0.5 pizza mean? You know, why are you saying that? Does that mean something? Now, that might seem nitpicky to you, but when you're presenting things in business, you have to be extremely clear. Don't say anything that's confusing, or don't give them any information that they wonder what does that mean and what should I do with it and this kind of thing. As a matter of fact, I would bring this down to units digit. Some of you might even round this down to the tens digit. I mean, think of it. if you're forecasting 6,537 pizzas, does it really make that much difference if it's 6,540 pizzas? Does that 3 pizzas make any difference? No, not at all. So only report what's appropriate. Okay. Well, there's our forecast, and that's what we can use. So this is what they want as a minimum. Next is insights. Well, first of all, one insight is you have a trend. So next year it's going to be higher, and that's why these numbers are higher. The second thing is the insight that I would want them to know. We should tell them is that there's going to be a pattern that repeats, and next year it's going to be high here in January, February, March, and March, and it's going to be low back here. What is this? December, November, October, in September. It's going to be high in March and low in September, right? And then it's going to go up and then come back down and go back up. I would tell them that. And that's something that they can anticipate. That's the insight. It's growing, and you're going to have high in the spring, low in the fall. Well, it's going to grow. From the fall, from September, it's going to start growing because that's the winter months. High in March. Well, yeah, skiing is big in February, March, okay? And some of our snowiest months in the mountains is March and April. Okay, and then it starts getting slushy. But you get a lot of powder in January, February. Anyway, those are the insights. So I think that's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to do for this. I hope this helps. Again, we're a team. Team 1-year MBA operations forecasting. Put this together. Your job is to put this together in such a way that it's clear, it's understandable, it tells them what they need to know so they can make a decision and run their business. The point of the communication is not how much you know. The point of the communication is how much they need to know that's helpful for them to make a decision to move forward. So talk amongst yourselves on what's the best way to do this. But every person writes their own memo, produces their own memo, produces their own video. Okay, you can help each other, but each person must do their own. Okay, well, I hope this helps. That's all I have for this. And I hope this helps. And between now and the next time I see you, this is a video. Make sure that you share this. If someone hasn't seen this, I hope this will help everybody. So between now and the next time I see you, hey,